This is a diorama that I built several months back of what I'd like to see built on my farm someday. This is a 15-inch gauge farm railroad with very much use for it. See, what's going on here is I have greenhouses for growing corals and separate greenhouses for growing produce, and the train tracks will go up past the greenhouses, and they will come in down the central aisleways of them to be used inside of them just by gravity, because of course you don't really want to be running one of these in there. However, I will have a diesel hydraulic for use around those kind of things. The whole idea of having the high weight, high powered steam locomotive is I got a lot of trees, and I'd like to figure out how to make extremely efficient steam locomotives that could be eventually used on modern railroads again, as well as I'm looking for self-sufficiency and being more green, and trees are carbon neutral. You can grow them back and burn them quite frequently. This is my hay feeder that I designed. I designed it off of one of those Japanese gates that are symbolic of very sacred areas. And as you can see with the hay you got going here, this is approximately 50 inches in diameter in real life. Well, you got the 15 inches. Yeah, there's not much to it. Oh, and this model is within 1 foot by 1 foot. So if BreyerFest did not land on Flight Fest one year, I could actually take this and enter this model into a BreyerFest competition. I've been really wanting to go to BreyerFest. However, every year that I've checked up on it, it always ends up on Flight Fest, and I really like my Mall Aviation. See, I show miniature horses professionally, and I fly model aircraft as kind of like a hobby, and I would like to see my farm selling produce, endangered corals, and I would also like to be building miniature steam locomotives on the side, as well as restoring antique tractors and other unusual equipment like that. This fall, we were looking into getting a 3D printer because and we want to prototype a whole bunch of stuff. For instance, when you go to show horses, you have to shave all the hair off of their body, and it gets kind of tiring when you're shaving your eighth horse holding the clippers that are about this big around. So if I can make it so that they're more comfortable and the drive shaft goes through it with a flywheel in front of your hand, then that'd be very nice. So I'm going to try prototyping that. But there are hundreds of parts on steam locomotives that you have to machine by hand, and you have to cast them out of solid metal. For instance, the gears, the wheels, the plates that are in between the locomotive and the trucks on the locomotive, all of the piping's hardware in there, the cylinders, the cylinder heads, the bracketry between the cylinders, the crankshafts, lots of parts on there need to be hand cast out of solid metal. So if I could make 3D printed master casting molds of these and melt the original print out with lost wax casting method, that'd be very, very useful. Now on this model, I stuck a seat on here to kind of make it easier to see. However, with the logging locomotives, they were commonly called 3-truck shays, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to have what would normally be the coal bunker actually be the seat, so you kind of sit in it like a glove, and the third wheel truck set under the back of this one would have a water tank on the bottom and then have a rack on the top for holding wood. Now, when I eventually run out of wood, if I don't have enough area to continue growing back the wood, I have another option that I'd like to try to use. I'd like to grow bamboo. It's a nice dry hardwood that can grow yearly, if I am correct on that. So that'd be worth trying as well. I could even use ponds growing algae for the diesel hydraulic to make diesel fuel, because the lipids in the algae can be harvested. We'll do a little demonstration with this hay feeder actually. So you tip it on its side. Make sure this is lined up right. And just tip it right off. Tip it right over. And then this, only weighing only about 100 pounds, can be flipped right back over again. And lift it up. And lift it up. Real easy. And there you go. Because everything, a 15-inch gauge model or railroads, which is actually the minimum gauge for it to be considered a actual railroad, the equipment's pretty light. So if it flips off, comes off, you can get back on. The only thing that's really heavy is your locomotives. And yes, these tires are approximately scaled for my John Deere 5400 we bought about a month ago. So yeah, that is a good description of what I'd like to have happen in the next 20 years on my farm here. I also like to get some more exotic animals. I like to have some ostriches and really, really want some emus. So yeah. Nice Shay steam locomotive next to a miniature horse. Well, more of Shetland actually. With my hay feeder design. Yeah, there we go.